Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dale Valor here with another MVD exclusive video. All right, so listen, guys, I had a video suggestion that came up, and I always like when you guys give me video ideas and topics because it shows me that A, you want to learn, and B, that there's content out there that you think that we can deliver to you. In the way that we phrase it in our voice and all that kind of good stuff, right? So I always appreciate when you guys throw out topics and suggestions and things like that. We don't always do them all, but the ones that I think would be good videos, obviously we do, right? So here's the deal, man. I had somebody suggest to me that what would it look like if you wanted to change relationship styles or statuses or dynamic? Meaning, say you are in a monogamous relationship. You're dating this girl, dating her exclusively, and your boyfriend and girlfriend, and a year down the road, whatever, you decide you would like to try to have an open relationship. Now, that's not something that you've ever expressed to her before. And you really don't know what her thoughts on the topic, you just haven't had that conversation yet. You might have some things that are kind of leading you to believe that she might be into that, or you might have some thoughts that say, nah, there's no way that she's gonna go for this, so I'm never gonna say it, right? Well, I think that might be the wrong approach. So I have a few thoughts on how to communicate that with your girl, and we're gonna hop into that right now. Let's go. Number one, communicate. Now, this seems like common sense, right? That you would have a conversation about whatever you're trying to change into or whatever strikes your fancy that you may want to investigate and explore. All right, well, here's the deal. Common sense, as you would think that would be, isn't always the case. If you don't have a conversation about what it is that you really want, know if you really want it, by the way, and we're going to get into that a little bit later in the video. But if you think you know where you want this thing to go, all right, you can have that conversation. Maybe you were in bed with her, right? And you're doing the thing, man. You're getting down. All right. Well, maybe something comes out just in the heat of the moment. And you're like, oh, she might be into that. Just based on her reaction to maybe what you said, or it just came from her, or whatever. Let me tell you something, man. Sometimes fantasies are better off just being fantasies, okay? And that's subjective to the individual, all right? Other times, those things can be lived out, and it's great, and it's awesome, But the wrong time to have that conversation is in bed, okay? That's the wrong time to do it. Don't make that mistake. You want to have that conversation when nobody's being overly emotional. A good time to have that would be not in the bedroom at all. Like maybe you're cooking dinner and, you're cooking dinner together and it's like, hey, look, I just want to throw something out there. And I'm not saying that this is something that we have to do or anything. It's just been on my mind. Would you potentially be interested in this? Try to make it a logical conversation. Try to leave as much emotion out of it as you can, because those emotional pulls and those triggers can lead to some bad decisions on both parties, okay? If she's being overly emotional and you're like, hey, what would be a good idea is if we had an open relationship because I want to go bang other girls. And I've got a few lined up right now. And that's exactly what she's going to be thinking. And if she's not into that, now she's going to second guess herself. And it could potentially lead to arguments and bumping heads and all that kind of stuff. And it's not something you want because it's not even really what you meant, So have those conversations, but do it the right way. All right, we're going to get to number two. Let's go. Number two, educate yourself. Man, look. There's a lot more to open relationships, poly relationships, there's all kinds of different kind of relationship styles, right? Maybe you want to close an open relationship, So these are all conversations that you should have, but you should also be educated about what that looks like. Don't think to yourself that, this is going to be awesome. We can open up this relationship. I can get back out there and get with these girls, and it's going to be great. Well, what are you going to do when she's like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and 30 seconds later, she has, some guy's junk in her mouth? How are you going to feel about that? Are you going to be jealous? Hey, look, it's going to be a lot easier for her than it is for you, most likely, okay? To get dates and things of that sort. And that's a common problem that people in those relationships have. So that's the deal. You need to see what that is going to look like. I find that there's, on Reddit, okay, there's some great subreddits for any kind of relationship styles where you can ask questions. You can talk to people who's been doing it for 30, 40 years, man, and help understand it and the mindset and the psychology behind it all. All those things, anything that you want to know, you can find out that information on pretty easily. So, look, find out, investigate it, and come to a conclusion that, like, hey, man, maybe this isn't a good idea. Sounds good on paper, but in reality, meh, not so much, okay? So that's the thing, man. Make sure that you educate yourself, and we're gonna get into number 3. Let's go. Just wanted to take this quick time out just to remind you, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now. Why? Because look, the information here is essential for you to get out here and start leveling up your dating life, leveling up your professional life, and leveling up your life in general, man. So look, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody that you know needs to see it, and I know that you do. Give us a thumbs up. All that good stuff, man. And also, August 28th, we're going to be doing our live Zoom event that we do every single month on the last Saturday of the month. And this one's going to be about, now that things are opening up, you can get back out a little bit, start meeting some new people. How are you going to do that when you've been locked in a cage for the last 16 months or however long, right? So look, that's what we're going to cover, is shaking off the rust. All right, so that's the deal, man. We're going to hop back into the video. Let's get it. Number 3, be on the same page. Man, look, okay, you had the conversation. You both started educating yourselves. What will this actually look like? What's the potential pitfalls? What's the potential things that are great? And that all has to fit inside of a box. And that box is your box and her box, all right? Because what might work for one set of people may not work for you. And so what you want to do is make sure that going into this, that you're on the same page. If there's boundaries that you do not want to cross and you do not want her to cross, you have to make that abundantly clear. Because if you don't, say, for instance, you just don't like the idea of her just banging anybody and everybody, okay? So you don't express that because you don't want to be judgmental. You don't want to slut shame her or whatever, and so you don't say nothing about it. Then come to find out a week later that, 15 dudes ran a train on her, okay? How are you gonna feel about that? So here's the thing. If you think that that's something that you don't want her to do, you need to express it. Because when you do, if she's on board with this, she needs to live by not only her own boundaries, but she needs to live within your boundaries too, and vice versa, okay? Because the same could be said the other way too. Maybe she doesn't want you bringing women home to where you live, because that's your place, okay? And honestly, I'm not a big fan of bringing girls back to my place where I live, okay? I'm a bigger fan of getting to their place, and that's for another video that we've already done. But she might not want you doing that. And then what are you gonna do? You're like, you come home and you got this girl that you went on a date with, and there's your girl sitting there on the couch, and you're thinking, this is gonna pop off. But in reality, she's like, why would you do that? I asked you specifically not to do that. So look, if there's too many of these boundaries in place, it might not even be worth doing, man. It could be more trouble than what it's worth, all right? And I'm not saying that it isn't, okay? But what I am saying is these are all things that you need to do to prepare yourself for this adventure, man, this journey that you're about to go on, or you're going to try to go on, okay? It's about preparation, all right? So we're going to get number 4. Let's get it. Number 4, start small. Okay, what do I mean by that? All right, look, you already communicated. You already did the research. You were on the same page. Boundaries are clear. This is what's doable. This is what's not doable. This makes me uncomfortable. This is fine. Okay, so you're on the same page. Now it's time to start taking a little bit of action here. What I don't recommend doing is jumping in feet first and just trying to do as much as you can, as quick as you can, all right? Because even with all that preparation, you still don't know what it's gonna be like until you're in the moment of it, okay? So what I would recommend is, I'll go with the example of you opened up your relationship, okay? What you might wanna consider doing is going to a swinger party where there's other couples who have open relationships too. Now that doesn't mean that you have to sleep with any of them, okay? But just go and see what the environment's like, what the people are like. Maybe start to get to know a few people. Ask some questions. Hey, we're new to this and this is a little overwhelming. Ask them what's the best way. How did it work for them? What does their relationship look like? And things like that. And having those conversations and getting to know those people, maybe the next time out, okay, we can dance with other people, but that's it. That's as far as we're gonna go with it. Okay, then the next time out, maybe it goes a little further than that. Starting off small like that will enable you to be able to calibrate at what step is it too much, because in the moment, it's gonna be different, man. You can prepare all day, it's gonna be different. Trust me on that, okay? So listen, guys, a while back, we did a video on different relationship types, and we break down what do those relationships really look like. And that can be your gateway to a little bit of understanding of what that relationship that you're thinking might be a great idea kind of looks like. We talk about poly relationships, open relationships, the full gamut, man. We I don't know, I think 6, 7, 8 different types of relationship styles we talked about. So I think that would be a good place for you to start. So go to that video now, and I will see you there.